Hi there, everyone. This is Marvell Adams Jr., CEO of Caregiver Action Network, welcoming you to our continuing webinar series this month, this National Family Caregivers Month. Today, we're going to be talking about building caregiver-friendly workplaces, and this is really a topic that has been closer and closer to a centerpiece of our work at Caregiver Action Network because so many individuals are caregivers across the United States, and of those individuals, a high percentage of them are also doing full or part-time work. And so when we talk about showing up for caregivers and meeting them where they are, sometimes that's meeting them in the workplace. And as a part of that means trying to help organizations create a space where caregiving can be seen as the value add that it is, and that individuals that are working caregivers can have the flexibility and space to be able to see to their caregiving role, but also be able to continue their career and engage professionally. So, really excited for today's conversation, and I'll just give you an overview of what we're going to chat about. So we're going to talk a little bit with a great colleague of ours, Tonya France from our partners at First Quality, and just have an overall conversation, not only just about caregiver-friendly workplace, but what it really means to have an environment in which caregivers feel welcome. We have a bit of a panel discussion that's going to take place, and then, of course, we're going to always leave you with some tools and next steps. So with that in mind, I would like to welcome to join me senior partner with First Quality, Tonya France. Tonya, welcome.
Thank you so much, Marvell.
Thanks for being here. So, Tonya, how long have you been in your role at First Quality?
I've been with First Quality only about a year and a half, working in human resources and manufacturing much longer, but privileged to be part of the First Quality team
That's
over the
wonderful.
past year and a half.
Yeah, that's great. And as you stated, you've been an HR professional for years longer than that. But just curious, I always ask our guests, so what is your caregiving connection?
My connection to caregiving is what brought me to Pennsylvania and actually to First Quality. I found over the course of the past few years that my mother required more and more of my time and attention, and I
Mhm.
needed to relocate to Pennsylvania so that I could be close to her and to help her.
Oh, wow. So that actually makes a lot of sense why we're talking today on a lot of different levels, because we've been alongside First Quality as it's evolved and really started to look at how to not only be a better organization understanding what caregivers are dealing with, but also making sure that the caregivers working within the organization are well supported. So thanks so much, for being with us. It's interesting because, from our audience's standpoint, there's a lot of information out there around caregiving and resources available, but they don't always have an origin story within the workplace. And so our conversation today is really trying to figure out what does that look like. So, I was curious to start off with and understand what what has it meant to First Quality to be advancing caregiver support within the organization? Because I know you guys have been really having a intentional conversation about supporting caregivers within the organization.
So when we look at how we support caregivers at First Quality, it's a little bit outside of what we commonly think of or traditionally think of as providing that support. It's often schedule flexibility or it's permitting remote work. But when we look at the majority of our workforce, they're production employees, they're employees who are working in warehouses. So we have to be a bit more creative about what our solutions are. Often that involves being being close to the workforce, listening to them,
Hmm.
training our leadership teams on understanding and being empathetic, and understanding what caregivers' needs are, as well as looking at how we can adapt our benefits to better support caregivers as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you put it that way because the thing that we see at Caregiver Action Network over and over again is, um, our need to really educate employers on this isn't just a nice thing to do. It's really about if you step back and say, what's in the best interest of the organization and those that serve it? Being a caregiver-friendly workplace really is in that category. So, I'd be curious to see your perspectives on when it comes to recruitment and retention of employees, when thinking about being supportive of caregivers, do you think that has an impact on your recruitment efforts and retaining good people?
Absolutely. When we consider the opportunity that we provide our employees with our match for our dependent care flexible spending account, that provides them the opportunity to get that care for not just children, but the dependents in general. And we're matching that up to $7,500 or the total of
Hmm.
$7,500 moving into the 2026 year. That does allow people to be present at work and still be able to provide caregiving for their dependents.
I see. So it takes your benefit structure and really kind of focuses on this is one thing that we know can be helpful to caregivers. So we're going to go as far as to match it so that if you're going to put money into a dependent care flexible spending account, you can actually double your investment in doing that.
That's right, for a combined total. Absolutely.
Wow, very nice. So, I mean, talk to me a little bit about, the types of things that you guys have done within First Quality to engage working caregivers, because I know we've partnered on some things and, I think it'd be great for our audience to understand. So what does it look like, within First Quality? If I worked there and I'm a caregiver, what are some of the things I would have been seeing that shows that, First Quality understands what it means to be a caregiver-friendly workplace?
So one of the things that we do is make sure that when we're communicating with our workforce, they're not individuals who are sitting at desks. So we make sure that we're reaching out to them using a variety of channels and media. So it could be displays in break rooms. It can be shift pass down meetings, and making sure that our employees are aware of the opportunities as well as our supervisors being aware of what their workforce needs may be.
I see. So being able to not only offer up these benefits, communicate them well, but then, the training aspect of making sure managers and supervisors are a part of that equation so that they are being supportive as well. So so then, you obviously have had many years as an HR leader, and I'm sure you have dealt with individuals that don't quite. So what exactly is it that you do, as an HR professional? So in that kind of realm, for our folks that are tuning in and watching this webinar, from an HR perspective, what does it mean to have that? What is the value that you think is brought to the organization by having flexible schedules and training managers? Like, what is the return on investment that you see?
And actually, we're not able to do the flexible scheduling. I do want to be clear there. But one of the most impactful sessions that we had in training for our leaders was one of the programs that the Caregivers Action Network offered. It's a virtual reality type of empathy training.
Right.
And one of our senior leaders had really been profoundly impacted. His experience using the virtual reality was one of an elderly woman who was having some difficulty in a shopping aisle. And he was deeply impacted by that. And it helped him to better connect the products that we produce and the value that it brings for individuals who may be impacted and who need our products and services.
Yeah. So that's That's really intriguing, and our partnership with Embodied Labs has really been so valuable because of just what you said. You know, I've been in the VR goggles with the Beatrix Lab and embodied her in the grocery store, trying to understand, you know, where to find the flour, FLOUR, versus the flowers, you know, that she already had in her cart. And it really opens I think the gate to an understanding that this is really bigger than I think many people consider. Because when you understand, as someone that's maybe working in retail in a grocery store, what someone may be going through that perhaps is in the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, what someone may be going through if they have a developmental disability, what someone may be going through if they just broke their hip and are just recovery and trying to find something in a store, and understanding, you know, that an empathetic way of understanding what they may be going through, and then that allows caregivers to really be in a much better position to be supportive. So, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like the piece of this that I keep going back to is, you mentioned communication being key. You know, so you said about that we're communicating internally, making sure staff are aware of the benefits out there. You know, are there any tips you would give to other employers out there about ways to really communicate effectively with staff and trying to get information out to them?
I would start first of all with listening. Listen to your workforce. They'll tell you what they need, and so I certainly begin with that part of the process. Then, and again, you know, whether it's a manufacturing environment or a restaurant or a hotel or other industry where it's much more difficult to look at those flexible schedules or the ability to work remotely. It's getting creative, and it's really thinking about what else can we do? Can we tie that to the way that our benefits work? Can we offer a health fair like we did here in our Lewistown location, where we're making sure that the Caregiver Action Network is there and providing materials and information, had postcards that just help people to even simply identify themselves as a caregiver. So many don't know that they are. And then to be able to link them to your services and know how to reach you, providing that information for them to take home and consider later.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you know, we see that all the time at Caregiver Action Network, that you know, not everybody resonates with the term caregiver or caregiving doesn't necessarily resonate with everyone. Sometimes it could be care partners, but many individuals look at it, well, I'm just doing what any son would do. I'm doing what any mom would do for their kid. You know, so it's like, I'm not a caregiver. You know, I am a sister. I'm a brother. I'm, you know, a cousin. I'm a neighbor. And so being able to underscore, you know, in the workplace in particular, that at least I would imagine, sometimes you're talking about benefits that people don't even recognize are for them, even though they're putting, you know, doing caregiving duties all the time. But being able for them to understand, if you're helping someone else in your life to be able to live more independently or support them in some way, you are a caregiver, whether you recognize it, you know, or not.
That's right. And one of the things that we do there too to help people identify themselves, again, going back to that flexible spending account example, in our new hire or our annual enrollment materials, we offer real life examples so that people can see the scenario of an individual, again, not just necessarily for childcare, but other dependent care, and utilization of that flexible spending account. So being able to tie that back to the individual and make it a real world example.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll put myself in the shoes of being perhaps a manager or a supervisor. And we get this question from time to time, particularly when we do that type of training, is, okay, I'm a manager or supervisor, and I see someone on my team that really is very private about their lives, which makes perfect sense. We certainly respect that. But you're seeing that they maybe are struggling a bit, and you kind of have a sense that maybe they're a caregiver. You're not sure. What advice would you give on how to best understand how to support that individual without feeling as if you're prying into their lives?
Sure. It happens every day, right? And so it may be a variety of things that are happening. And part of the first quality culture is unity and being able to manage with humility. And so leaders and supervisors are reaching out to their employees, having conversations, and again, not pushing, but doing their best to gather information. Sometimes seeing their human resources representative is helpful as well. And sometimes it may be as simple as a reminder that we have a fantastic employee assistance program that can provide additional support as well.
So to that point, you mentioned your employee assistance program. If I, kind of put the shoe on the other foot and considered myself, I'm a new employee with an organization that's not first quality, but but maybe someone that's viewing today, and I'm a caregiver, and I'm just not sure how to broach the subject with my employer. What would you suggest that person do, and just kind of how to first to share what their caregiving role might be, and even just to find out, okay, what information should I be looking for? How do they really reach out and find out what their organization offers?
So here's where, again, your human resources office is a great resource as well as your supervisor. But often when we reach out to our human resources department, they're providing also, personal real life examples as well to remove the stigma of being a caregiver and whatever that individual thinks may be tied to that title. And then they're able to share with them the number of benefits that we have available to the individual, directing them to the EAP, directing them to the Caregiver Action Network, and so a number of resources available. And just reach out to your HR department.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. I think that we find over and over again that individuals, when there's uncertainty, when they're just not sure, and they don't want to say anything because it's like, okay, I don't want a spotlight on me. I don't want them to feel as if I can't do my job, But what we've also found over and over again is that when that caregiver doesn't reach out, or that caregiver doesn't come into the spotlight to say, I have responsibilities, that really are important to me, that the risk of them burning out, them
Mm.
leaving the workforce, or just absenteeism piling up, that those type of issues really start to crop up. And from everything you're hearing from you, that organizations like First Quality and perhaps others employers that are watching this, you want to know. Because how else can you help if they're not able to share what's going on with them? And so it sounds like resources like your employee assistance program really serve as a critical piece of that.
That's right. And employees don't need to feel like they have to make a decision between being a great employee and being a great caregiver. They have the opportunity to be both.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well put there. You shouldn't have to choose between being a great employee and a great caregiver. I really love that. Tonya, this has been absolutely wonderful. I'd be curious, is there anything else that like you would really wish for individuals out there that are in a work environment and a caregiver? What would you hope for them to be able to have access to? Are there a couple things that you found that are really useful for caregivers to just have at within arm's reach within an organization?
Absolutely. Is the number of resources that we already talked about as well. I'd
Hmm.
like to see them reaching out as many of as our employees have to a book that we just published recently called Caring with Dignity that allows it's a resource for caregivers to be able to navigate incontinence and understand how to help their dependents with that care.
Yeah, that's a really thank you for bringing that up because one of the things we find over and over again is bringing up the taboo conversations is so important. They end up being taboo and then they end up being so invisible that people don't ask questions or they don't find the right information. And so yeah, I have had a chance to peruse that book, Caring with Dignity, and it really does give information, everything from understanding what it means to travel with someone that may need incontinence support, someone that maybe have a certain disease or condition state that it brings a different aspect to understanding that. But it really gives the understanding that this is something that has really great information out there, but it has to be something that is brought into the light for everyone to be able to see. Wow. Well, Tonya, thank you so much for taking the time, and also just really glad that your caregiving journey led you to First Quality because it sounds like you were needed at the right time during their evolution, and you needed them at a time when you were looking to be in a support role for your mom.
That's right. Thank you, Marvell.
Yeah, appreciate it. And we'll be heading off to the next part of our webinar right now. So now I'm really excited to introduce our panel for today's webinar. We have three amazing individuals. Jason Yoon, who is the Client Experience Consultant for Capital Group, is going to be joining us, along with Colleen Dennis, who is Senior Manager for Care and Wellness Initiative with Genworth. And of course, alongside them is the incomparable Nicole Goebel, who is our Director of Community Initiatives at Caregiver Action Network. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Colleen Dennis, and I'm here today to say thank you to the Caregiver Action Network for supporting working caregivers. I am also here to represent Genworth and CareScout. I have been a proud employee here for over 10 years, and only recently have I really leaned into my part of the mission as being a caregiver also. My personal connection to caregiving really does actually predate recent events, but more recently, I've been very heavily involved in caregiving for both of my parents. I think the word caregiver can have so many different definitions. Some days it's as simple as letting their dog out when they're at medical appointments, and other days it's as intense as sleeping in hospitals and monitoring blood pressures and taking notes and sending them to different family members. Caregiving can be care coordinating, it can be hands on care, and it can just be updating family members about all recent events. That's why it's so important to have these conversations, and why here at Genworth and CareScout, we have a really robust employee resource group called CARES, dedicated just for our employee caregivers, their coworkers, allies who are all involved in this mission together. It is so important to keep redefining what caregiving means, how it impacts everybody personally and professionally, and how we can best serve each other. CARES offers lots of different programming events, as well as opportunities for our employees who are caregivers to really contribute to all of our business initiatives. Whether we're helping to product test different sessions for wellness programs or helping to name new insurance products, you can always find CARES members at the heart of every conversation related to caregiving here at Genworth and CareScout. Thank you again.
Caregiving is often a hidden identity at work, one that could leave us feeling isolated and overwhelmed. The reality is that caregiving can carry an unbalanced workload, sometimes equal to or greater than that of a full-time job. When we discovered several teammates quietly navigating care responsibilities, it became clear to us all. Many of us are balancing similar challenges. And if sharing resources, ideas, and moral support can make a difference for a few, imagine what it could do for all. That's why we created our caregiving support community, a space to connect, share, and strengthen one another, because no one should have to go through this journey alone. Together, we could build a community of understanding, resilience, and one that cares. So join us and help shape a community that supports every caregiver in our workplace. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nicole Goebel, and I'm the Director of Community Initiatives here at Caregiver Action Network. I'm really excited to be here today to talk a little bit about the work that we are doing with employers and with employee resource groups. Now, if that term, employee resource groups, sounds a little bit foreign to you, pretty simple. These are usually groups internally in a workplace that are crafted to support employees around a specific concern, issue, topic that is impacting those employees and really their ability to do the kind of work they need to show up for. And so employers have reached out to say, how can we support our employees that are caring for their responsibilities here at work? What are some things that we as the employers should know? And what are the kind of supports that we can provide? And then, of course, we connect with those caregiving employees as well to talk a little bit about the resources that we provide. We do this in a lot of different ways, and we work with each employer to figure out what are you looking for? What's going to work best with what you already have, and where you want to go with the resources that you want to provide with the employees that are caregiving. So it's a very exciting project. I'm really proud to have been a part of it for the last handful of years and really excited to see how it will continue to grow as we bring on new employers and learn about new ways that we can provide that assistance in supporting caregivers that are doing the oftentimes two full-time jobs of working as well as providing support for a loved one. So thank you so much for tuning in to learn more about how we support employers and those employed caregivers. And I look forward to engaging with you all soon.
I just want to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors that have really made this webinar series possible and our entire Plug Into Care campaign. As you can see here, it represents organizations across the country and across the globe that center caregiving in everything they do and making it possible for family caregivers across the country to really be there for their loved ones, feel supported, and ensure that really they can do their best by ensuring that their loved ones can thrive. So thanks so much to our sponsors. And in addition to that, I want to make sure everyone has the information they need. So reach out to us in any way that is most comfortable for you. Do it often. And you can reach out to us on the web at caregiveraction.org. But also know that we're just a phone call away at our Caregiver Help Desk, our National Caregiver Help Desk, which also now has a downloadable app that you can find. And so feel free to check that out. As always, our resources are of no cost to caregivers. And so whether you engage with us through our website, through our social media, welcome you to join our Facebook group as well. But no matter what, just know you are not alone, and Caregiver Action is here to stay connected with you.